Hi guys, what's up? This is going to be my review of Slain from the Birth of Flesh by Inflamed. Now I want to split this up into three different categories. The first category is going to be general things about the band, the second thing is going to be specifics about the album, and the third thing is going to be the ratings. With that out of the way, let's get into the general things about the band. This is a one-man project by Pedro Segundo. He is from a city named Agudos in the countryside of Sao Paulo in Brazil. He said he would classify this as extreme metal as it has influences from several different kinds of metal music. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the band. He said he played drums in his church for many years. Pedro said he used to be in a band called Sanguinosa, but the lyrics were different. It was a vampire metal band. The main differences are thematics. Sanguinosa's lyrics are about gothic literature, vampirism, horror, and they're very inspired from authors such as Edgar Allan Poe, Bram Stoker, Lord Byron, Machado de Assis, and H.P. Lovecraft. Sanguinosa had too many changes in the lineup, and they came to a point where Pedro couldn't even recognize the band anymore. So in 2018, he left the band and started Inflamed. He wanted to keep doing extreme metal music, but bring a new message about something good, and his experiences in developing his faith. All the songs from Slain from the Birth of Flesh were originally composed by Sanguinosa. When the band ended, he started Inflamed. He kept about 90% of the songs just the way they were, and he just remade the lyrics and some arrangement. When he started Inflamed, he had in mind first thing to make an album. He felt like he had something inside of him begging him to come out. He found it would be most honest with the work they did, and with him doing most of the work, to end the band. He and the original singer had some profound disagreements with each other at the time. Fortunately, they had left those bad feelings behind him and are now friends again. He says his main influence from the album was from his former band Sanguinosa, because he wanted Inflamed to sound like a continuation of that. What influenced him to start making extreme metal was Cradle of Filth and Dimmu Borgir. As far as Christian metal bands, his favorites are Ceremonial Sacred, Mortification, Ancestor, and Frost Like Ashes. Now let's get into the specifics of the album. As far as the writing process is concerned, he says he's very particular with the way he composes. He says he makes songs that are already pre-produced. He says he has a studio, so it's easier for him to do it that way. He says he just makes a very complete demo with virtual instruments, and then he records real instruments over them. He says he's not the kind of musician who waits for a good idea, he goes after them. He says he usually takes a guitar, or nowadays a piano, and starts playing some riffs and melodies until he gets what he's searching for. Most of the time he has an idea of the structure or arrangements he wants for the song before he even starts to play. He says each song talks by itself, but there is a central source which is different for different people to discover the faith. It's something very personal to him. He wanted to make this album for the guy who has just become a Christian and is still lost between the lights and the shadows. He says heavy metal fans in general are very die-hard fans. He says for them, it's not just about the music, but a real lifestyle. He says he had a very strong conflict within him when he became a Christian, and he knows there are a lot of people out there that are in this same situation. That's why he decided to write about these things, so he could talk straight to them and say, hey, you can have your faith and be yourself. I know what you feel right now. You're not alone. As far as favorite songs, he thinks Entombed Under the Skies of Brass and Operata for Her Dying Flesh have something special. As far as the writing and recording process, 2 songs on the album, Goddess of Monsoon and Decay and Operata for Her Dying Flesh, are versions of songs he released with Sanguinosa back in 2016. So he can say he started working on them as far back as 2013 or 2014. About the other songs, he started working on them in 2017. The female vocals on Goddess of Monsoon and Decay and Operata for Her Dying Flesh were recorded by his ex-wife, Joanne Azevedo. He says she has one of the most beautiful voices out there, and that he does believe that people will hear great things from her. The guitar solo on Goddess of Monsoon and Decay was made by his great friend and former Sanguinosa guitarist Pablo Albergoni. The bass guitar on Carnicide was played by Eric Muchbach. Pablo says he is a phenomenal musician and one of his best friends. He says Inflamed is in standby mode currently. Many things happen to him even concerning the band, so he's having a hard time. But he says he already has 3 done for a possible EP to release maybe next year. He says he has a symphonic metal band called Sakura, and he's about to release his debut album. As far as his spiritual beliefs go, he says, I cannot see Inflamed as a gospel band, but it is a reflection of his feelings and thoughts concerning his faith and experiences. He says you will not find any praise music in the lyrics, at least not directly. He says he sees God as a friend, the best friend one could ever have. He says that's how he faces him and how he talks to him, like someone he knows he can count on. He says he's the type of person that he can tell him about his day, his feelings, the good and the bad. So I thought I would show off the CD a little bit. Here it is. And here we have on the inside the disc. And the booklet actually has some cool imagery in it. The first page, the second page, the third page, the fourth page, and the last page, and the back. So overall, real cool. Let's get into the ratings now. Now, first of all, I want to say I really enjoyed this album, especially when I first heard it. When I first heard it, I was like, yes, this is awesome. I love it. You can definitely hear the vampire metal influence in this music. Since first hearing it, I feel like I can really appreciate what's going on in this, and there's a rich history here with the music and all that, so I do appreciate that. As far as the rhythm in light of the notes, the rhythm and sounds are compelling, intriguing, and strong. The speed is mostly allegretto with some changes. The lyrics are animated and passionate. The heavy and whiteness is heavy, haunting, and professional. The rhythm is enticing and rounded. Total, this is going to be 2.2 out of 2.5, his best category, and he really does a good job here. For the notes in light of the depth, the progression or climaxing is dark and harmonious. The complexity is even throughout. The composition is atmospheric, invigorating, and clear. The atmosphere is full-toned, dark, and engaging. The notes are strident and cool. Total for this is going to be a 2.1 out of 2.5. Good category. For the depth in terms of the listenability, the synergy is unifying and orchestral. The production is a bit foggy. The noise and sounds are enthralling, captivating, and mesmerizing. The genre, whether original or defining, is enjoyable and ambient. The depth in a general sense is melodic. Total for this is going to be 1.8 out of 2.5. Good category. For the listenability in terms of the rhythm, the flow from one song to the next is fair. The smoothness or choppiness is okay. The predictability is satisfying and mellow. The groove is charming, reverberant, and metrical. And the listenability in a general sense is absorbing and symphonic. Total for this category is 1.9 out of 2.5. So altogether, that's going to put it at an 8 out of 10. I really suggest buying this one if you can. It's got some unique elements in it that I think people will enjoy if they're into heavy metal. Well guys, that was my review for Slain from the Birth of Flesh by Inflamed. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.